I think that like one of the saddest things about games is how oh dear. Yeah, no, thank you. A lot of these early games have really good or really interesting stories. At least simple and straightforward and compelling, like Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 2, Silent Hill 1. Uh, but the controls and graphics are often awful. Oh god, often awful. Like fighting in this is painful. It's pretty painful in the Resident Evil games, for good reason, obviously, but it's still painful. And Silent Hill 2 is pretty painful. You know, very awkward. Whereas more modern games are absolutely beautiful, control really well, but often have terrible plots and really convoluted sort of themes and issues at play. Like Resident Evil 6 is a good example of that. It's just a mess. It looks pretty, and okay, the controls aren't that great, but you know, the amount of effort put into it is huge, but the stories are still sort of crap. And Resident Evil Revelations is another example of that. I mean, it's not a bad game, and it is very pretty. The graphics are amazing, and the graphics are amazing, and it controls really nicely, but the sort of story is so convoluted and messy and overly packed that it sort of ruins anything that the graphics do. It's like early games were simple, made sense, but were often ugly and controlled horribly, and modern games are like the reverse. The stories make no sense, but they're ridiculously pretty. It'd be nice if we could find some sort of middle ground between the two, where, like, I don't know if there's something down here, between the two. Oh. Okay, that's pretty much it. It'd be nice if we could find some sort of middle ground between the two. God, I'm failing at this game. It'd be nice if we could find some sort of middle ground between the two, where games are kind of pretty and have decent plots at the same time. I think like the nonsensical plot thing is especially true of like the Resident Evil games now. They just, oh god, almost. They just, you know, seem to have gone through this like mad descent down the rabbit hole, and they've decided they're not coming back. The story has to be insane, or it's not a Resident Evil game. I think that's stupid. I think it's because like Capcom expect them to be so exciting and or a certain level of excitement, and there's different plot strands that they now have to cater to that it just has to get ridiculous to do any of it in the way they think it should do it, if that makes sense. It has to be ridiculous, or else it won't hit the high notes they think it will, even though I don't think that's true. I just think modern games try too hard, really. I guess it's because of the budget, really. Like with movies, if you're spending that much money on something, you expect it to be a certain kind of experience. Oh. Stupid dogs. But the problem is, horror games often don't work that way. Horror often works best when it's just like simple stories. Okay, so where am I supposed to go? I'm guessing I have to go down Elroy Street, or maybe there's a back passage somewhere. I'll try Elroy. But yeah, goddamn, the controls in this are terrible, or painful. The combat is, anyway. I think 2 has this problem as well, I mentioned earlier. It's not as bad as this, but controlling James in the second one, it can be difficult at times. Especially in combat, he'll miss things that you think he should have hit, or get attacked just because he's the combat animation is very rigid. You know, he always there's a constant momentum to his strikes that isn't very realistic, and oh dear, it's challenging at the same time. You know, they sort of remind me of Monsters from the Mist. Those things do, anyway. It's been a while since I've read the book, and seen the movie actually. I read the book ages ago. But I remember some sort of like pterodactyl-like flying creature. Or at least a flying creature of some sort, I don't know. So it doesn't look as though we can get through here. God, taking a lot of damage. Right. Okay. I really have no idea where to go. Okay, let's go back to where we were and see if there was a side passage or something. I have a feeling this is one of the times where it turns to night, or it turns to the nightmare world as you're going through one of the passageways. I could be wrong. You know, I really like this game. Well, not when it came out, because I didn't have it when it came out, but you know, a few years after it came out. But now, like, obviously the story's still great, but the monsters, I'm not, honestly not all that keen on. If only because the combat is very clunky, to put it politely. I think there must be a passageway or something around here. Maybe that was, oh dear, what the doghouse thing was about. Oops. Maybe it's just me trying too hard not to waste ammo. Maybe I should be shooting everything. but those fights are bloody annoying. Yeah, I think it must be the doghouse anyway. I thought that was a clue to later on, but I forgot how much just random exploring and finding random things that might progress the story there is in this game. Is that a Walter Matheson's train? Okay, so it's up here. Yeah, I can't say the combat is really, you know... Oh? Can't say the combat is really exciting me. And against zombie dogs as well, that's pretty generic as far as enemies go. Oh, there we go. Key. I love the story though. Once you break it down. Okay, so is that key? Yeah. I wonder what the key of the lion does. I think that's for later, but I'm not sure. I might have to check that off screen. It's locked. Who is locking their doors from me? You know, as much as I often complain that about games where you're forced to melee, I do think it's an essential part of survival horror is like good melee and being forced to melee, even if I don't really like it, because obviously I prefer to keep a distance with whatever I'm fighting. That's one. One accidentally. Okay. I have no idea what that means. Obviously I've got to look in those three places, but... So I believe the one at the top... bottom right, with the sort of circle and the X, is where I went. Where the car was. The patrol car. That means we have to check that the alleyway near the cafe and the area at the top right where the arrow pointing right is, across from the convenience store. So actually thinking about it, there isn't that much you can explore around the town beforehand. I know as you progress more areas open up, but there isn't really that much to explore to start with.